Welcome, everyone. I'm Phoebe Chongchua. You're listening to the Live Fit Magazine podcast. On today's show, we have a wonderful author who's going to share some very important financial information that will help you, but also, he claims, will help unspoil your kids. And we are in the holiday season, so this ought to be some very interesting information. A lot of parents tend to overdo it during the holidays, so we're going to get some great tips. Joining me now is Gregory Downing. And Gregory, tell us the name of your book and why you wrote it.
Well, the name of my book is Entrepreneur Unleashed. And the reason why I wrote the book is I'm really worried about the financial future and the economic conditions in our country today. I'm worried about the economic future, and I'm worried about the economic future of families, and I'm worried about the economic future of the next generation. So I wrote the book Entrepreneur Unleashed for families to be able to take control of their financial situation, create a new future for themselves, but also take control of the financial future of our children. Because the school systems today are just not giving our children what they need to survive in today's economic climate. And that's why I felt myself compelled to write this book.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, it's amazing to me that you can go all through high school and really have no information about a bank account, have no information about, checking and credit cards. And although they say that this should start in the home, I agree. I think there's an important foundation that needs to be taught throughout your education as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the amazing thing is that we're shipping our kids off to college. And I want to be very, very clear to your listeners, and it's an honor for me to be able to get this message out. I am not anti-education. I want our kids to go to school, and I want our kids to go to college, and I want them to be very successful. They need a traditional education. But in some cases, we're shipping our kids off to college, and they can't even balance a checkbook. And then the day they get to college, they're sent a credit card in the mail for $2,000. Of course, they don't tell their parents about that. They charge that credit card up, don't make the payments, and their credit is destroyed from the very beginning. It's almost like in some cases we're relying on the traditional system to take care of our kids, and that system right now is failing our kids in some cases.
So this is something that you claim needs to be taught in the home, and I couldn't agree with that more. Why don't we go into some tips about what you can do to teach your kids and to, as you say, unspoil them?
Well, I just got to tell you, and I take a look at my life, and my number one tip would be don't start to spoil them, and then you don't have to unspoil them. Now, some of us have already went past that, and so did I. I mean, when I went to work, I made a decision. We grew up very, very broke as a child, and I made a decision that I wasn't going to live that way, and my kids weren't going to grow up and struggle to survive and not have stuff. So as I became successful in corporate America, I just bought my kids everything. And I thought I was doing them a favor, and I really realized I wasn't, because if we just give, then they think that they're in this world to take. And a big part of our country's problem is people take more than what they give. So, step number one is let's not spoil them. But if we already have, then we've really got to sit down and take a look at, what are some things that we can do to unspoil our kids. And, I got to tell you that the biggest thing that we can do as parents is we have got to make sure that everything in our household is based on a reward system. And, parents have to sit down and be open with their kids about where they're at economically and set goals that are very obtainable goals and set up rewards for those goals so kids can see that they're going to be rewarded for their behavior. And, parents really have to decide what that behavior is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think I read somewhere in your press release that came into Live Fit magazine that you thought that people should sit down and open up their finances to the kids. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that. And if a family's struggling economically, it's probably because they don't understand finances. And I'm really going to maybe back up for just a second. And it really goes all the way back, again, to our school systems. They teach our children, and they've taught us, one concept, and that concept is that time is money. In other words, the only way that you can make money is by spending your time. And, I want every one of your listeners just to think about this for a second. If you really believe that time is money, go out and find Father Time and see if you can buy some of it back. We can't make more time in this world, but we can learn to make more money. So it really starts at the family level. The family's got to take a look at their household, and they need to run their household like it's a business. They have to sit down and they have to budget for the entire year. They have to take a look at the revenue that's coming in. They've got to understand the differences between fixed expenses. They've got to understand the differences between variable expenses. They've got to take a look at their children and what the economic impact of each one of those children has on the household. What is their economic impact on the household? And once they've really got that dialed in on paper, then from there, the family, the parents can really kind of set some goals for themselves of what they want to accomplish over the next year, let's say the year 2013. And until the parents do that, you cannot bring the children into the situation, because unless the parents have an understanding of what's going on in their house economically, not just that there's too much month at the end of the money, they've got to really sit down and evaluate what's going on in their lives and why it's happening.
Now, do you advocate sharing all of the bills and explaining and actually laying out very, openly what the financial circumstances are?
I do. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that we make as parents is we want to shelter our children. And at a high level, I am very protective of my children. I don't want to shelter my children. But, the reality of it is when they get out into the real world, when they graduate from college, when they get out there and go to work for corporate America or go to work for somebody or start their own business, they've got to learn what it means to win the game. Now, I want them to win the game the right way. And my daddy taught me at a very, very early age. He said, son, if it doesn't matter who wins or loses the game, then why are they keeping score? Now, but I think it's important, and we can speak to this in a little bit, how we play the game, and we've got to play the right way. And if we can teach our children to be of contribution and to be of service, we're really accomplishing something. But yes, once the family knows what's going on in their lives economically, and they've got that on paper, if the family has to cut back because they're dealing with tough economic circumstances like most of America is today, then yeah, they've got to sit down and they've got to be very open and honest with the kids and let them know exactly what's going on. Once you're open and honest with your children about exactly what's going on, it's amazing how much you can get them to buy in and be a contribution to the problem. Become a part of the solution instead of become a part of the problem. It's truly amazing.
Oh, I agree with you. I have a 17-year-old, so speaking of a timely story, she's heading off to college soon. We're going through all the application processes right now and just really trying to explain. I also, of course, have online magazines and a business, so I'm an entrepreneur, but it's very important to involve her, I have found, and not to create a sense of fear about, because I think that can happen. I think that sometimes kids can think, well, how am I going to be able to do this? As they're just heading off into college, it's a lot for them to think about. They're trying to just think about, what do I even want to do with my life, many of them. So I think it's important to educate them and let them know that they're going to do it as long as they pay attention to the key points that you're talking about.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. And the last thing we want to do is create fear in the mind of our children. We've got to let them know that things are going to be okay, our country's going to be okay, and that they're actually going to be the ones that are going to be a part of fixing the economic conditions in this country. And if you think about it, it's taken generation after generation for our country to get into the position that it's in, and it's not going to be me or you that fixes this country, and I don't believe it's going to be the government, and I'm not going to wait to find out. Who I believe is going to take care of this country, it's going to be the next generation. And if we can instill that into our children and they can understand that they can be a part of that movement, then we can get them excited about their future. I don't want them to be fearful of the future. I want them to be excited. But at the exact same time, if a family is dealing with economic crisis and we're not sharing that with our kids, those kids know something's going on.
Gregory, this has been fantastic. Tell us where we can get your book, your website, and the name of your book.
Okay, the name of the book is Entrepreneur Unleashed. It's book 2 of a series of 6 books. And the best place to find the book is at GregoryDowning.com. Last name DOWNING, GregoryDowning.com. And I've got an entrepreneur zone there and a lot of free resources. You can connect with me at YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. You can ask me questions. We can assess where the family's at. I mean, I really have a passion that families take a look at where they're at economically and let's get our kids on the right track.
Fantastic. And you, of course, have over 20 years of experience in management, leadership training, and business workshops and ownership yourself. So you are a great resource to our LiveFit magazine readers. I would encourage you all to check out GregoryDowning.com and take a look at the book. Thank you so much for your time, Gregory. We appreciate you being on the LiveFit magazine podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very, very blessed to have been able to talk to you guys.